All right, well, let's talk about some of these other SEC teams. And there's just so much parity, chaos, I don't know, uncertainty right now about how many SEC teams are going to make the playoffs and where these teams are sitting. Let's start with Texas A&M. First of all, I watching my kids' soccer game, kind of just scrolling on my phone, thinking South Carolina is just going to wax A&M, and then come home and turn it on, and Texas A&M wins. Wild turn of events, but I mean, they're undefeated. I personally think they're the best team I've seen with my own eyes this year when they played Florida. And they've got Samford at home, which is a cupcake. And then they go to Austin and they take on Texas, which, I almost think it kind of depends on which Texas team you're going to see. But I like Texas A&M in that. So are they going to run the table in the SEC this year?
I think there's a decent chance now. I mean, if you had asked me 5 weeks ago, I would have said just like by default, nobody can do it. Because
Right.
of how deep the league is. But I mean, A&M, like in a vacuum, if you had told me that they win a close game against South Carolina, I wouldn't have been overly concerned, right? Because of the depth that we think is in this conference and just how Carolina would have gotten up for this game. The fact that they went down by 27 shows me that this team has the ability to implode, which is a little scary going into the playoff. Because if you do that against a better team, not at home, your season's going to end.
Yeah.
So obviously you get credit for coming back from that spot. The fact that it happened is very concerning, right? Because it wasn't like they just went down by 14 after that scoop and score. It got doubly worse since then. So you have the ability to implode and then come out. I mean, so yeah, you give them credit for the comeback. Their offense looked really, really good. Their defense bounced back. I am a little bit scared of what we saw in that first half for obvious reasons. But in that game against Texas, like in my mind, Texas is eliminated from the playoff. Texas is not going to think that way. They're going to think that if with 3 losses, with a win over A&M, they have a plenty good resume to go to still go to the playoff. So it doesn't matter what I believe; it matters what Texas believes. So they're going to be fighting their asses off to go win that game. So it's a very difficult game. It's a rivalry, through and through. So we'll see what happens. It'll be a really hard game, but A&M is definitely good. I would say they're a lock to be a top 4 and get a bye at this point. But we'll see how it plays out.
TJ, what do you think? What when you were watching on Saturday, were you thinking like this team is imploding? Like, were you shocked at the comeback? And is this one of those things we're going to be like, well, hey, look, they got battle tested and they got better and they are going to use this going forward? Or is this, kind of a chink in the armor?
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides. Like, I don't know that I really believed. I mean, maybe it's just because I have too much faith in Ohio State. I don't know that I really believed that Texas A&M was really going to get and go and win a national championship. Like, I don't know that I had bought into that fully. I thought they had done a really good job of finding ways to win games in different, styles of play, close games, high scoring, defensive kind of dragouts, whatever.
Yeah.
Going into this weekend, and we'll talk about Alabama and Oklahoma in a minute, but going into this weekend, Alabama still had like overwhelming odds to win the SEC when it looked like it was going to be A&M and Bama in the SEC championship, which, we'll see how the last 2 weeks shake out to see if that changes at all. Well, this weekend won't have much of an impact, the FCS weekend that we have coming up, but which we could probably have done a segment on that just so that I could have some fun. But so I don't know. And Bama was still going to be favored by them a ton. I just think that sometimes it is hard to get up every single week. And so I do think they deserve a lot of credit for coming back and not just hanging their heads. They could have easily just said like, hey, this isn't our week. We go beat Texas. We're 11-1. We're still in great shape. We're still going to Atlanta. Like, who cares? You do get some credit for that. You also get some, hey, man, what are we doing? I mean, this is South Carolina. This wasn't like an Oklahoma team that's playing really well right now or a Florida team that has just a ton of talent. You were at home against a team that is terrible.
Yeah.
And just mistake after mistake. Marcel didn't look good. Letting Sellers is a freak. But man, I think it's both. I think it's both sides. And my thoughts on A&M, I don't know if they've really changed a ton. I don't know, man. Did you see that graphic that they threw up on the screen? I took about 1 million pictures this weekend, so I don't even know if I'll be able to find it. But
their conference winners?
Yeah, like who they played.
No, I didn't see this graphic.
Yeah. I would throw it up on the screen, but I just can't get it there fast enough. Their wins are against Arkansas, last in the SEC, South Carolina this weekend, second to last in the SEC, Auburn, third to last in the SEC, Mississippi State, fourth to last in the SEC, Florida, sixth to last, LSU, seventh, Missouri, eighth to last. Like, they haven't played one team
Yeah.
that is ranked on the right side of the hemisphere, right? Like, every team they've played, they didn't play Alabama, they haven't played Georgia, they haven't played Ole Miss, they haven't played Vandy, Oklahoma, or Tennessee. All of the teams with winning records in the conference, they do play Texas next week. So I hadn't realized that going into it. And when they were struggling, I was like, maybe this makes a little sense. Maybe they're not quite as good as we think because everybody they've beaten sucks.
I'm telling you, they looked better to the eye test than Georgia or Alabama. Georgia or Ole Miss when we played them.
Yeah, but I mean, Florida sucks too. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but like Florida's very up and down. Like, how did, and even in that game, it was close for a half against a Florida team that like Miami and LSU had just dominated.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like, I guess Florida was coming off that Texas win, which we'll get to Texas in a minute. But like, I don't know, man. Like, just
to A&M's credit, they are the reason that all those schools have another loss on their conference.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
That's fair.
But I mean, like, some of them that we just mentioned, like Mississippi State and Arkansas, like you're talking about a couple of programs without a coach, a program,
created, they had Texas, LSU, and Florida on it. Now, it's not Texas A&M's fault that LSU and Florida were absolute garbage this year. That's not what was predicted going into the season. There were people that predicted LSU was going to win a national championship. There were odds for Florida's quarterback to be in New York. Florida was a talked about potential playoff team going into this season. So, I mean, it didn't play out that way, but when you looked at this A&M schedule going in, they had Notre Dame. They had, just all the teams that I just mentioned. I mean, they had a schedule. Nobody else showed up.
Yeah. And they did beat Notre Dame. Like, they've done some good things. Like, I'm not trying to say that Texas A&M is just trash, but I do think that graphic was somewhat revealing. Even the LSU game you mentioned, like, yeah, it was on the schedule. I mean, LSU quit in that game. Like, they knew where Brian Kelly was going. Like, that game specifically, they played Auburn a little closer than they probably should have. I don't know. Like, are they okay? Here's a good one. Is A&M right now how would you power rank, Will, the SEC?
A&M
first still?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I'd jump Georgia up to first after this weekend. I don't know if that's crazy, but I'd have A&M.
I would go A&M, Georgia, Bama. I'd give Georgia over Bama now.
I might put Oklahoma ahead of Bama.
I wouldn't, because that game was so fluky. I picked Oklahoma, but I mean, Bama
that's just how they win every game.
Dominated them in every.
They did. Oh, but so did Tennessee 2 weeks ago, and Oklahoma just finds a way. Man, they're ridiculous. Yeah. But
championship teams just find a way. That's kind of a I don't know.
It's the Mateer magic that Will loves.
Mateer magic. I think. I mean, I don't think you can put the only undefeated SEC team anywhere but one. And maybe that changes, but I do think head to head that Georgia would beat A&M.
Well, that's more of like what a power rating is. So like not a ranking, but like power rating. I would take Georgia.
On Kirby Smart. I
take Georgia and Bama over them right now, and I think Oklahoma might be a question. Like, would you take? Who would you take on a new? No, I'll agree with. I'll keep A&M at third.
I think I'd lay 4.5 with A&M over Oklahoma on neutral side.
I think it just depends on which version of both teams you get. But I would agree with you. I'll take A&M over Oklahoma.
Definitely interesting. I definitely got that game in Austin circled, the last regular season game of the year, because I think it's going to be an interesting battle. But A&M could drop 2 and they're still in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. A 10-2. And they're not losing to Samford. So if anything, an 11-1 team is going. But so right now they're in the SEC championship. If Texas beats them, is there any scenario where Texas A&M doesn't go to the conference title game?
Yeah, if they lose to, no.
That's
Yeah, if they lose to Texas, would Georgia not get the tiebreaker over them for a common opponent?
They would, but then what do you do with A&M versus Bama?
yeah.
Oh,
This
yeah,
goes
I
like
don't know how
5
that
layers
tiebreaker
more
would
than I
work.
have the
I need to
knowledge
do more
to
research on
describe.
that.
We got a comment saying, "Stop hating. You know my dogs are the best team in the SEC by the eye test." Listen, I love Georgia. I say all the time that
I'm
Kirby
clipping
Smart
that.
is my
Yeah.
favorite current college football coach in terms of abilities to make adjustments, in terms of the fact that he will step on your throat if you were on fire, he wouldn't pee on you. All the hallmarks of being a great SEC coach Kirby Smart has. So I'm definitely not. I'm just saying it's hard to put a team with a loss over a team that is currently undefeated, even if I would pick Georgia in a head-to-head match.
Hard for the committee a couple of years ago.